Shuckalugga kapow! How's it going, old schoolers? You're kicking it old school with Russell J.S. And I am your host, Russell J.S. Wow, we are now officially in March of 2026. Winter is finally over for some of you, and well, it's still kind of going on. You still got a little bit of the cold weather. The snow is probably turning into slush by now, and it's starting to make your front lawns a little greener, and the trees are starting to bud leaves. And you know what? Summer is almost upon us. We are in the springtime, but summer is going to be upon us soon. And you know what that means? All those summer vacations, like the family, you go to Disneyland in Anaheim, California, or Universal Studios in Hollywood, or maybe you go to Disney World here in Florida and Universal Studios here in Florida, along with SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. Or maybe, you're going to go, I think it's in Gatlinburg where Dolly Parton's theme park is. Or you're going to go to any of the Six Flags theme parks that are everywhere in the United States except for here in Florida. The nearest one we got to go to is all the way up in Atlanta, Georgia. But again, now, if you're a Gen Xer, if you're a first leg Gen Xer, you've probably, by this time, I'm saying that the timeline will be between the years 1995 to 1999. Pretty soon we'll have 2000 and beyond. I'm going to make a video about that. But yeah, by that time, you're probably got careers, just started careers. You got out of college, you're married, you're starting to have kids. So, like going to them places is the least of your concern. But in the time of 1995 to 1999, I was going on between the ages of 17 to 21. So, my life was going to be, pretty soon, I was going to be walking up that stage and getting that high school diploma. Of course, that would be in 1997. But at any rate, I'm back with another video, a follow-up, where, you see, the thing was, around this time, I was going on out-of-town trips, but it wasn't with mom and dad. By this point in time, I was of job age. Mom and dad were kind of done with doing the whole Griswold-style family vacation shtick. And, it was going to be pretty soon for me to start working, have my own money, maybe save up if I want to go to Disney World again. They weren't going to do it anymore. But I think in them years, the only time I really went anywhere was the time between 1995 to 1997. And in that time, I did Busch Gardens. In 1995, I did Busch Gardens for the first time, and I faced a fear that scared me pretty much at the time my whole life. Flume rides, the ones where you're in like the log flume, you know what I'm talking about? And you go down that thing like a waterfall. And I was traumatized since childhood because growing up in New Jersey as a little kid, you go to Great Adventure, and that's one of the main things they got. And when I was 5 or 6 years old, it scared the bejesus out of me. So Busch Gardens, I was 16 going on 17 in 1995. I decided I was going to face my biggest fear besides a log flume. I was going to do loop-de roller coasters. And later on in that year, once I was 17, I'd face another fear that traumatized me since I was 5. I would go on Space Mountain. But you know what? The one main roller coaster I went on and I faced my fear of the loop-de roller coasters was the Kumba. Now, anybody that's been to Busch Gardens, you know that roller coaster. But what I'm here to talk about this time around, what I was bringing at the time to occupy me during those long trips, because I didn't do it with my parents. I was doing that. I mean, anytime I was going to theme parks or anything like that, I was doing it with the church youth group. And like I said, in 1995, I did both Busch Gardens, and then several months later, I would do Disney World with the Night of Joy, which I wish they would bring back. But I want to go over what I would bring with me on these trips. And remember, if you're new to the channel, hit a like, subscribe, leave comments in the box down below, ring the bell for notifications, and tell your friends, your family, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your grandmas, your grandpas, your your classmates, your co-workers, your roommates, anybody that's into kicking it old school. Help me build this channel up. I mean, I got 280 videos. This is going to be 281, this video. And I'm so happy to know that I now have 184 subscribers. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. You know, I mean, if I get up to 200, I could say, 800 more, maybe I'll set up a PayPal and start a spreadsheet where I can make merch like t-shirts and bumper stickers and hats and keychains, things like that. And, I thank you all, and please help me build this channel. Tell all your friends about it, if they're into kicking it old school. Okay, now, as I was saying, in the 1990s as a teenager, I am what you call tail end Gen X, meaning I was born, people like me were born between 1971 to let's see. We were born 1975 to 1980. And as a tail end Gen Xer, what items am I gonna bring for this trip, for the long trip, keep my mind occupied? Well, usual stuff: music, handheld games, a CD player, and something else. Now, without further ado, let's check out these bad Oscars, and leave in the comments box down below, what did you bring on any of these trips and in these videos I described? Starting off, music. Now, you know me for being a huge fan of all hard rock, but any hard rock I bring, it's going to be a little bit on the more mellower side, and I'm going to bring some other stuff, but the CDs I'm bringing. Starting off with Blues Brothers 2000 in 1998, the Clerks motion picture soundtrack from 1994, the Desperado soundtrack. I mean, they got this one has a lot of cool, semi-hard rock and some alternative bands, newer music for the time. The Desperado soundtrack, has newer music from like Carlos Santana, Tito and Tarantula, Dire Straits, and who else on here? Oh, Salma Hayek even does a song on here too, and Los Lobos. So, try to be a little bit on the mellower side of things. And you know what? Everybody knows Foo Fighters. I had to slowly really get into them, despite the fact I know it was Dave Grohl, his post-Nirvana band, where he decided to become lead singer and a rhythm guitar player. And you know what? It took me a while, but I did eventually warm up. I'm still getting to know them. Once again, I'm going to bring Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, No Quarter. A little bit of, well, I guess they called this at the time unleaded. It was a big tease, because we thought we were getting a full Led Zeppelin reunion back in the mid-1990s. And of course, once again, going into MTV Unplugged territory, Kiss Unplugged. It's Kiss doing some of their classic songs with acoustic guitars. And then we're going over to, again in Unplugged territory, Nirvana Unplugged. There's nothing like a little bit of mellow Nirvana music. And then Sammy Hagar, Marching to Mars. It's kind of got like that classic hard rock sound, a little funk in it. Great album, great CD. You got to pick this up. Supposedly all the songs, because I'm getting ready to do an album versus album, put this up against Van Halen 3. Supposedly all the songs, because I'm going to listen to it all the way through like I have done before. I never paid attention, but I heard that a good lot of these songs were based around how Sammy Hagar felt with that turmoil between him and Van Halen at the time when David Lee Roth came back for a short tenure for that best of package. And last but not least, speaking of Van Halen, which some of you would call the Van Hagar era, I have nothing against Sammy Hagar or David Lee Roth. I like them both equally, just as long as Gary Sharon from Extreme is not the lead singer. Van Halen Balance, which is one of my favorite albums from Van Halen throughout their career. Now, also, I got my portable CD player with earphones to listen, go ahead and bebop and jam out to my tunes. And then this time, I'm bringing a book. You know, I'll read a few chapters of a book. You know, I don't have to necessarily be into music and games. Now, before I get into the handheld games, I'm going to show you the one bad Oscar I wish I would have had at the time, because I remember when these kind of items, when they first were available in the late 1980s into the early 1990s, they were like $500 or $600 a piece. What I got right here, and I got this off of eBay, is this battery-operated portable television set. And look at that. See, it has a little antenna. I mean, a lot of kids who are probably well off had one of these. I know a few people when I went on trips with the youth group had one. And, you know, you can catch up on watching some TV shows, but just remember to turn it off when you're done because, you know, it's battery operated and you don't want to wear down the batteries. It's got volume control and a dial and everything. Now, getting into handheld game territory, I got a couple LCD ones, one Tiger, one MGA. Transformers Generation 2, that'd be perfect for the time, from Tiger. And also, I got this Star Wars handheld, LCD handheld. I also have the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but I figure, you know what, I'll just bring the original and just have fun blasting TIE fighters around the Death Star. And I love this one the most because it reminds me of that one Star Wars arcade game that came out just around the time when Return of the Jedi came to theaters. When they were, you know, when Atari was putting out all the, you know, remember they were making arcade games for Star Wars. You know, they had the whole trilogy at one, you know, and then Return of the Jedi had better graphics. But yeah, I'm going to bring this. And substituting for my Game Boy, I'm also going to have my Game Boy, is my little, you know, knockoff SUP. This contains 460 old Nintendo games in it. But, you know, I'm really going to bring the Game Boy because this is just a stand-in and it looks like the Game Boy in a way too. But it's got a bunch of Nintendo games in it, not only that were released stateside, but the ones that they didn't release out of Japan. Some will say that this is a cheap bootleg knockoff, but it is fun. But it's not as fun as the Game Boy. But that's pretty much what I got. And you know what? I was looking at videos on YouTube, and I found out, you know, the way prices are going, you know, when going on a vacation nowadays, like say you're going to do Orlando, you know, you want to do, you know, we all love to do the theme parks, so Universal and SeaWorld, go to Tampa to do Busch Gardens, and, you know, go to Disney World. But you know what? I think the next time, I want to make a video of it, and I think the next time what I'm gonna do is when I go to Orlando, I'm gonna skip Universal Studios, I'm gonna skip SeaWorld and the House of Mouse. The only time I think I'll do the House of Mouse is I'll just go over there and make a video of the entire monorail ride from Epcot to Magic Kingdom and back. And, you know, that'll be it. And I found out, you know, when going to Orlando for vacation, you could do it on a budget. You can honestly do it on a budget. I mean, you don't have to go and be entertained by the House of Mouse. We don't need the House of Mouse to entertain us. and I hope to do a video of it soon. I got to figure out because one of the things when I went ahead and did the mystery ride thing I can't believe it's been 2 years. It seems like it happened yesterday. But before I left, after I checked out of the hotel and everything, I wanted to go around to Orlando and just do a little exploring. But traffic was just to get over to Kissimmee. I mean, they were reconstructing roads and all this other crud. So it was a bad time for me to just go ahead and hop on US 19, aka Arlo Bronson Way, and go visit some of the stuff. But you know what? I did manage, and I paid $27 admission for it. I wish I would have brought back like a souvenir of sorts. I went and did the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. I mean, if you're ever in the Orlando area and you kind of want to give the House of Mouse a rest, check that place out. I think it's right there on International Drive. I mean, just amazing, the artifacts that they have. It's just, a walkthrough. I mean, if you watched Adam the Woo videos or Jacob the Carpetbagger or World of Micah, I mean, those guys have gone ahead and done the Ripley's Believe It or Not. And then I forget what that one museum is. It's sort of like the same thing. It's in Kissimmee, where the building looks like it's upside down. And they've got a lot of cool things. I mean, Hulk Hogan's gift shop is there. I mean, and Old Town Kissimmee Amusement Park. It looks like an old school style, amusement park with classic rides like the Ferris wheel and, flumes and things like that. I mean, and you know what? All these places, you pay cheap admission. Parking is free. I mean, let me put it this way. When I went and did Disney and Universal 2 years ago, I mean, I got my passes for both the parks. I went ahead and I got, what was it? I got, 1 day, 2 park hopper passes, one for Disney, which cost me $160. And then the one for Universal Orlando, which cost me $150. And parking was $30 for both parks. I mean, just ridiculous. And then you spend, I mean, if you forget about the what do you call it? Forget about the souvenirs and food. I mean, instead of buying snacks at any of the parks, I brought my own. I brought some rice cakes. I brought, kernels for sunflower seeds. I brought, beef jerky, and I brought a tumbler because you could fill up ice and water instead of buying sodas. And you know what? I think that's better for you when you're in places like that and the sun is just blaring at you. I think it's way better to do that. But, you do the math as they say, first off, I went ahead and I arrived at Epcot, and I did the one video where I went and did the monorail, kind of messed up. I mean, first off, anxiety, I got overwhelmed, I got anxious because it was my first time ever doing something like this. Usually I was either with my daughter and her mother, a girlfriend, friends, or family when I go ahead to these places, or youth group. And, gotta let my hair down. It does get a little hot in here, with the lights, even though there's AC blasting. But you know what? I paid $30 all 3 times, when I went to Disney World just to ride the monorail. I paid $30 to park at Universal and another $30 to park at Disney World again. And, with the combination of the ticket pass prices, I probably spent about a good maybe $500 just doing that. If I exclude the souvenirs and, getting lunch or dinner at any of the parks, I probably, and not to mention gas you have to have gas, and, you know, but you know what? That's what I'm thinking about. Next time I go to Orlando, I'll do a couple days of Orlando and I'll be on a budget and I'll stay at one of those budget motels. You know, the ones I'm talking about right there on US 19. You know, like some people nowadays will say, oh, that's the set of the Florida Project. Yes, you're right. But, you know, I mean, I'm probably sure I could find a motel. I could stay 2 nights at a motel for, you know, and do all this stuff for what I will pay to park at Disney World, pay or Universal, and my passes. You know, I'll probably I'll probably go ahead and I'll probably pay the same amount for all that. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing a video for that, and I got a track by track getting ready to go, which I'll probably do on Saturday. And I think Dimebag Darrell's birthday, you know, it's been a while since I kept up with, you know, things about the band Pantera. I want to do a track versus track on his birthday, which will be the 2 debut albums, okay? Pantera's Cowboys from Hell versus Diamond Vinny's post-Pantera band, Damage Plan, Newfound Power. I want to put those two albums against each other. Lots cooking right now. I mean, I try to make as many videos as I can, you know, but I got a lot going on in my life with work and taking care of my mom and dad and things like that. But just know, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff. Everything. I mean, that's the thing when you work 5 days a week and you're taking care of family members, you know, you have that as your priority, but, you know, you have to, sometimes you got to take the things you love to do, which I love making these videos. I love playing my guitar. I love driving in Autobot road trip and doing things. But sometimes you got to put your stuff on, the stuff you love the most, your passions. You got to put them on the back burner for a certain amount of time and take care of the main important life priorities. But hey, that's the way I look at things, you know. But I'm going to close this video out. And remember, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it chill. Play some old school video games, play some old school, you know, listen to old school music, watch old school movies, watch old school TV shows. You know, keep it real, keep it fresh, get you enough of love, get you enough of peace, get you enough of tranquility, get you enough of less chaos, no chaos, less drama, no drama, get you enough of anything your heart desires. And as always, I wish you all Godspeed. May the force be with you always. And shuckalaka kapow!